like under ideal conditions, if you only go to Electrify Americas and they're available, which luckily this one was, it is pretty much almost 1-to-1 with Tesla. Like the charging rate of most Electrify Americas are either 150 or 350, which the 350, like Tesla doesn't even offer yet, but also there are no electric cars that offer anything near that yet.
Yeah.
275 is the fastest charging car on the market, and it's the Taycan. So like the fact that it charges at the speed of a V2 Tesla is pretty good, right?
Yeah.
Like, but it's just the volume. And the thing that kept ringing in my head yesterday was you build it and they will come, but they haven't really built the charging infrastructure yet. But there's this huge push to build electric cars. And weirdly, it's like there's not a lot of car manufacturers that are really heavily investing in the charging network. They're kind of taking the like, it's not really our problem approach. Even Volkswagen like only made Electrify America because they had to. The US government forced them to make their own charging network because of the emissions scandal.
Yeah.
And like, it's funny that like they were forced to, and then now it's the best network that is not Tesla. But yeah, it's like there's all these random charging companies that are sort of trying to get a piece of the pie. And like, yes, electric car companies are investing in these other companies, but they're not. I feel like they need to do more. They really need to do more. And also putting a single charger in a location and being like, we service this area is not acceptable. It's just not acceptable.
Not acceptable.
Yeah, it's tough. I almost kind of framed this at the beginning of like, if I were to put my parents in this car and say, drive to this place 1,000 miles away.
I was thinking. Yeah.
How would it go for them?
Yeah.
And obviously the gas car, they'd be fine. They drive a gas car. If we put them in the Tesla, I think they would have no problem being very conservative and just stopping at like every supercharger along the way and just being safe with battery. And I wonder if they had decided to just pick whatever route the Mach-E laid out for them, how it would have gone.
Yeah.
But a lot of parallels keep coming up in my mind between like almost like iOS and Android. I'm trying to like crystallize this more in my head probably by the time I make this video, but like Tesla controlling the whole stack, which is they build the superchargers for Teslas. They have the length of the cable perfectly to match up with where the charge port is on every car they make. And like, obviously it's all thermally optimized and it's online and it talks to the cars and it bills you later. Like it's very streamlined. The fact that works so well seems like an impossible target for another company that isn't building their own.
Yeah.
And you can get close, and there's the Pixel of the experience, which is maybe a Volkswagen-owned car on Electrify America only, maybe a Taycan. And here's a hot take. There is a route somewhere. There is a world and a route that you can take where the Mach-E wins. Probably beats the Tesla, maybe even ties the gas car.
Yeah.
Because if you follow Electrify America's 350 watt maximum chargers, and even I would say the Plaid Model S with those big wheels, which has 350 miles on the dash, doesn't quite get 300 miles. And the 305 mile Mach-E would probably get 305 miles.
Yeah.
So if you take off from the same place and you hit Electrify America's fast chargers, there's a world where it wins.
Yeah.
And you only hit 150s in the Tesla. And I think that's the best case like you could possibly find for it. But if you're giving the car to my parents and saying, go to Saskatchewan, like it's not going to be the same experience.
And it is extremely like iOS versus Android actually, because CCS, which is the one that everything's sort of converging to, is a lot like USB-C. It's like it offers all of these things and most cars are starting to use it. And whereas Tesla, it's like they're Lightning, they're in a lot of places, and like they offer a Lightning to USB-C connector.
Right.
But actually the USB-C CCS offers like more things. It can go up to 350 watts, right?
It's kind of like how
there's some benefits.
If you get the right cable, you can get the fastest Thunderbolt 3 speeds, but there's a lot of cables that look like it that don't get Thunderbolt 3 speeds. And you pull up to the wrong charger and get slow speeds.
Like you can go up to 350. Tesla doesn't even offer that.
Right. At this point, their fastest charging is 250, which is the newest Model S and X.
Taycan's better than that.
Just a little bit, yeah. So there's going to be USB-C phones out there that charge faster than the iPhone, but are they ubiquitous and work every time like Lightning?
Right.
Interesting.
And when your friends ask you at a party if you have a charging cable and you hand them the USB-C cable and they say, "Oh no, I have an iPhone."
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Maybe I need to draw that comparison in the video. I like that.
Yeah.
There's one other thing in charging that I thought was really interesting that I feel like we need to do the math on for the final video, but it's the like charging curve that we found out between the Mach-E and
I think
Tesla.
that's going to be totally dependent on the car.
Well, yeah, but if we just compare to Mach-E right now, what we found was it goes full blast right until 80% and then just tanks.
So it's not right until 80%. I noticed yesterday the last Electrify America charger we used actually showed the kilowatts that it was outputting.
Yeah.
And when we first plugged in at 30, it was actually going at 157, which was weird to me because they can only take 150. I think maybe it was accounting for heat loss or something. But it was outputting 157. But then once we got to 60, it actually dropped to like 87. So it dropped fairly significantly. There's a curve.
Same thing in probably all of these cars, and this is the same with smartphones. You get peak charging briefly. Yeah. Like if you're rated on your phone to charge at 80 watts or something crazy, it doesn't charge at 80 watts from 0 to 100. You go ramp up to your peak charging, and you'll get peak charging from like 10 to 30%, and then it'll slowly, you probably could find a graph of this. It'll slowly slow down all the way to 100%. Then you have this weird thing where after 80% on the Mach-E, it like capped you at 10 kilowatts.
10 kilowatts.
Which
and
is
we can see it on this graph here.
Which is very slow.
Really slow.
It's weird. I'm not sure why functionally it would decide to do that other than like protecting you from touching 100%. But if you're at a fast charger, you want to charge up fast.
Like
so
I know that most cars like will start sort of trickle charging after around 80.
Tesla
but
goes
it's not
pretty hard.
But it's not that low, right?
I mean, it goes to under 50 after 80%.
Yeah, but 10 kilowatts is so slow. For 20%.
It seems pretty obvious that any charger outside of your house, they don't want you there to 100% either. Like that you're just taking up more spots. You're generally not charging up to that, and
But if you charge me up faster, I'll leave faster.
This is almost like a right to repair thing, because it's like we're forcing you to not hurt your battery by only charging to 80% ever. Even though you could charge to 100%, we really want you to only go to 80.
Also, every car treats it a little differently. The Taycan, I'm trying to remember the specifics. With the Tesla, you can slide a slider right to 100%, and it'll charge the car to 100. And it'll warn you, hey, don't do this every time. We don't want you to degrade your battery life quickly.
Yeah.
But if you go down to 80%, that's your typical everyday stated charge. Leave the garage with 80%. And that's like a safe way of doing it. The Mach-E, you also have that control. But I believe the Taycan has a bit of extra battery that it doesn't charge every time. So if you charge to 100% on the Taycan, you're actually going to keep hitting that 100% every single day. And for the life of the car, it will feel like it doesn't degrade because there's extra battery above it that it's preserving for you.
Interesting.
So it takes that like out of the equation for the Taycan owner. They believe they're charging to 100% every time, and they get the same experience every time.
That's kind of smart, to be honest.
Feels like a gas car. Like I fill my tank every day, and I don't have to worry about the tank shrinking or something weird.
The thing stops when it stops.
Exactly. Yeah. So there's different ways different companies have attacked that. And I'd be curious if there's like a written reason why it decides 80% it's going to slow charge instead of stopping. I don't understand that.
I assume it's some sort of like battery chemistry thing that we did not go to school for. So
I might have to talk to someone from Ford. I'm sure they're raging at the keyboard right now trying to tell us exactly what it is. But I am very aware that I can charge to 100% on the Tesla as many or as few times as I want to, and that's in my control. And if you're an enthusiast, you'll probably appreciate that more. So there's that.
Yeah.
But I would love to know. I bet there's a world where we can plan an exact trip where the Mach-E wins, like a 500.
I'm sure there's multiple ones.
A 500-mile trip
where it is,
where there's only 150 kilowatt superchargers for the Tesla, and there is all Electrify America for the Mach-E, and you just ride it out, and it's just
it's just so hard that Teslas can use so many non-Tesla chargers too and adapt to them, and obviously I don't think they can use all of them. I think you had mentioned they possibly can't use Electrify America. That's something we have to look into a little bit more. And that would make sense for Volkswagen to do that. But when you can have the Tesla network, which is so big already, and yes, technically it is not the same size as the entire non-Tesla network, but also it's kind of bigger because you can adapt to a lot of those, right? And every non-Tesla car company CEO is like, our network is actually bigger. And it's not really. And then also, if you only have one at your station and there's a 50% chance of them being broken, the first Electrify America charger we went to yesterday, the first one we plugged into was broken. Luckily, there were 3 other chargers we could plug into. The second one worked. Second one we went to, 3 of them were broke. It's like none of these are like have really good uptime. And Electrify America likes to say that they have like 97% uptime or something. And like clearly that's not true from like our referential data.
It could be true, but like even 97% is probably not enough.
Yeah.
Like I can see on the map when a Tesla Supercharger is down.
Yeah.
And maybe it's down for a day. But like if you say in an entire year there is 1,000 chargers and 3% of them, that's 30 of them, are down for the entire year, that's pretty bad.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
You want 99% plus, I hope. Yeah.
Even if we're just talking about the Mach-E's trip on the first day, if let's say everything was like just the worst coincidence possible, anybody who is new to EV and had that experience in a new EV car would regret their decision and be probably never buy an EV again. And that's just not a place we can be right now if we're trying to fully adapt to EV cars because of emissions. Like that's not acceptable at all. And I think you're not only ruining the experience for one person who will stick with gas for the rest of their life, all of the people that they talk to that might be thinking of that decision is possibly ruining that.
That's something we were talking about earlier in the studio is just like the power of recommendations from your friends and family for so many people outweighs doing your own research on the internet. So many people will say like, oh, I know this says that it's the best on the internet, but my friend told me that it's not great. Yeah. And it's like, that is so powerful.
And it's something that they talk to us about with the Lightning, which is that pickup trucks right now are probably the most resistant to changing to EV.
Which is hilarious considering they benefit the most from it, but...
that's a whole other argument. I think. But like, if we're talking about pickup trucks coming in, if pickup truck drivers were to have that experience that they just had with Mach-E, it would be hugely detrimental to just not just Ford and the F-150, but I think to pickups in general, because this is going to be one of the first really big ones we see. And I think they have a year to, 6 months-ish, maybe 6 months to a year to really figure this out before the F-150 launch, or else I think it could be really, really bad for just EVs
and this
in
is,
general.
It's the hardest thing, right? Like I want to note again, like the Mach-E is like a pretty decent car, actually. Like a lot of its parts are really nice. The interior is pretty nice. It was pretty nice to drive. Blue Cruise, not Blues Cruise.
I was about to ask about that.
Blues Cruise. We can talk about that a little bit more in a sec too. But like, it's a pretty decent car. And if you are not going on a road trip, if you're plugging in every night and you only go within 200 miles, it's
a lot of these cars
like
never
most
have
people
to
could
do that,
use this every day and they would not have any problems.
Yeah, a lot of people take one road trip once in a while. It's a very small consideration and you plan very heavily around it. So most people aren't buying the car based on the road trip.
Yeah.
All right, thanks for hanging with us for this Waveform podcast clip. You know, it's kind of nice that we got to get meta and make a video podcast about road trips, which is probably consumed while people are on road trips, which is kind of neat. So if you're on a road trip right now listening or watching, shout out to you. You're in the metaverse.
You are. I hope you're not stuck at a charger somewhere.
Or an Oculus Quest 2.
I hope so. Or if you are stuck at an out-of-order trickle charger, I hope you're passing the time quickly.
I hope you're pressing that subscribe button.
That's what it should be. Oh, yeah. Hope you're pressing the sub button. Yeah. See you in the next one.